and welcome to another episode of Natural Genius at Work. I'm here with Bernhard, leader, and we are on a very breezy evening here in Singapore on Sentosa. Feels like we're on holiday, right?
That's true, exactly.
So Bernhard is a friend of mine, but not only that, he is also the founder of Athleaders. They are the preferred health coach in Singapore for corporate leaders and their families.
Correct.
He also is a professional, ex-professional footballer from Germany when he was living there, and he is also 3 times international triathlon winner here in Singapore.
Correct.
3 times in a row.
3 times in a
Right?
row. That's true.
That sounds like a pretty impressive accolade to me. That's 3, and it's 3 in a row. And also a coach for Athleaders runners here in Singapore.
Correct.
And it's great to have you here, Bernhard.
It's my pleasure. Really, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Really
Very
excited.
interested and curious, and I'm sure people watching are as well, to hear about how you have been able to successfully make that career switch.
Sure.
And even despite everything that's been going on with
in the
COVID.
last few months.
Yeah,
That's true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So great to have you here. Great for you to be sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to the session with you.
Yeah, so we got our masks on because we have to, but
that's true. Yes.
I think that's one
normal.
thing around success, right? That you just got to adapt and mold.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll be able to handle it. No worries.
Exactly. No matter what, right? You just got to keep going.
Keep moving forward. Exactly.
Yeah. So would you like to just paint a picture of the kind of stuff that you're doing now? I know I gave a little bit of an intro to you, but that's more some accolades.
Yeah.
But what are you doing out there in the world now? What have you kind of started to do in Athleaders?
Yeah. Thanks for that's a good starting point, I think, to somehow give a little frame. So it's basically combining the 2 passions that I've had, the 2 fields that I've been exposed to for quite a while, which is the athletic side. You mentioned the football part, which was something that was very essential to me growing up. My dream was not to join the corporate world, it was to become a professional athlete. And at some point, my parents knocked some sense into my head and said, well, if you have a brain, shouldn't you use it more? So, I made that switch roughly at the age of 22, 23, joined the corporate world, worked in various parts, and over time I saw more and more people who found it actually very, very difficult to work with professional coaches, sports coaches, fitness trainers that understood the reality of someone who is in the professional world. So I understood that, someone that has been in both worlds is able to gauge that a little bit better. So by now I work with corporate leaders and their family members and help them basically achieve their health and fitness results through a combined approach of professional personal training and nutrition coaching.
Nice. And this is kind of your office, right?
Yeah. 50% of my time I spend over here. So I know life could be definitely worse. It's a brilliant location to be in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you've swapped the 4 walls of a multinational company office that
Correct.
you used to work in, and now this is your office.
This is my desk.
That's super cool.
Yeah. It is. Yeah.
There's a lot of jealous people right now probably watching this.
Yeah, I think we should jump to the part, how did you get here? Because by now I think we have people's interest.
Exactly. So I'm always very curious to know what really drives and motivates people, because you don't step out and do what you have done just because, right? You don't do it just to take a paycheck. There is a bigger mission behind what you're doing and why you're doing it. And for you, what is that mission?
For me, actually, it was heavily influenced by what I was experienced at that point in time, but also the years prior. And that only happened based on the reflection of a lot of work with professionals like yourself, where I was constantly pushed out of my comfort zone and asked, well, is the track that I'm on, is that leading me to where I would like to be? And I think it is very easy to get caught up and say, well, things are going well, I'm on a good track, there's all sorts of pools where, I'm getting exposure within a company, but is that necessarily something I would like to do in the long run? And I came to the point where I realized that was not the case. At the same time, I had a couple of cases within the family, close friends who found it very, very difficult to deal with that pressure emotionally, but I could also tell that actually was either triggered by the physical side, or the physical side became a remedy to dealing with that pressure.
Yeah.
I'd grown up with two very different grandmothers. One was extremely health conscious.
Yeah.
The other one, did not really care about her health.
Yeah.
One is still around, the other one is not. And the one who was not around anymore, in her last 10 years, she was suffering quite a bit, because there were just so many factors that came with it.
Yeah.
So that health consciousness, the aspect of treating your body well, turning it into a temple and making sure that it's doing well. That was something that became quite central to me, and I realized, I could actually help people there. And then it started on the site. It started with one person who asked me, Bernhard, can you please help me? I would like to achieve my fitness goals. And from there, that person then recommended me to their friends, and from there it grew organically. And at some point, I was at that level where I said, well, this is actually now what I do full time. It was not that I said, well, I'm going to step out one day to another and, I have this huge market opportunity. It was really something that grew organically. So what impacted it was this passion for health, helping people create a slightly healthier lifestyle than what they're leading now on a physical level, but of course the mental aspect is there as well.
Yeah, for sure. Can't have one without the other, right?
Yeah, very right. Yeah.
Now look, it's no secret that you haven't always been doing this, because we've talked about you successfully being able to shift into a new career.
Yeah.
And I'm always very curious to understand the story behind people, right? Because we all have a story as to where we've come from and why we've chosen the route that we have. And we always have a little bit of a wake-up moment, or there's always something that really pushes us down that new road. Obviously, you shared a little bit about what the drive has been for them from a mission standpoint. But I just wonder, is there something that really kind of switched for you as like the lights went on and you're like, you know what, I just need to do this? So what's your story?
Well, I think there's multiple moments. I would not say that there was one particular tipping point. I think it was just a series of events where I, over a period, I would say, of 6 months, exposed myself to people that just asked me very, very difficult questions. And those were people that were either very senior leaders in the corporate world themselves, and of course they were asking me with the intention to nurture me maybe within their company. But for me, actually, those questions triggered more question in terms of, well, is that necessarily the path that I want to go down on? At several events that I attended, the Tony Robbins event that a lot of people go to, and after 4 days it's like, wait a minute, there's actually a lot of things that I turned upside down, and now it's about really processing that. But it was a process of 2 years. So for me, actually, there was not a one time moment I said, now I have to step out. It was really something that gradually evolved over time. And after 2 years, I had the feeling I was ready. And then COVID hit, and within 6 months, things shifted completely. But I picked that moment before very, very deliberately, because I'd done the necessary preparation, which I could have done up until that point in time. So for me, not one time, but really something that took some time. And I think, that's something that's important to remember. For most people, these kind of shifts actually don't happen on one day. It's a process, and it's okay to take your time there.
I think that's a really good point, actually, because I think a lot of people think that they just got to have it all sorted, and they've just got to like very drastically just step out and do something and take big, bold action. And sure, take some action. It can't happen without that.
That's true.
But you can be methodical about it. I mean, I think actually when we first met, you were still in that stage.
That's
right?
correct.
You
Absolutely.
Had your mentorship.
That's how we connected.
There was. I didn't know you'd been to Tony Robbins. I've been there dancing and jumping around for 4 days. With my feet hurting after the end of it all. Never shouted so much in my entire
Lost
life.
the voice.
Vocal cords are broken. But there is a journey of evolution that happens, right?
Correct.
So for you, it sounds like there was a period that this all just started to come to fruition. You had your plan in place enough to resign, to step out, and who knew, right, what was going to happen a few months later? Because I think it was around November time, right? And then COVID happened later.
That's correct. Yeah. Good memory.
And no one knew that.
The world was a different place at that time. That's true.
No one saw that one coming. So clearly what you're doing out there in the world right now is very much about healthy habits, healthy mindset, living a very healthy life. So what kind of healthy habits, practices, mottos is it that you live by?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's very easy for someone that is in, the fitness industry to talk immediately about, all the physical habits. One of the things I realize by having been in the corporate world is that for most people, fitness there is not a lifestyle. It's something that supports their daily lifestyle, it supports their daily routine, it supports work, it supports their family, and of course they want to show up, in a better shape, whichever form that then shows up on a daily basis. But fitness is not a lifestyle. So therefore, also the practices that I have is, I reckon that it is a lifestyle for me, but it's not a lifestyle for the majority. I have 3 parts that really help me stay on track. One is I meditate on a daily basis. And that is between 3 to 10. Some people may not call it meditation. It's centering myself, making sure that the beginning of the day I'm in a space where I can prepare myself properly. The second thing is to be very clear about where is it coming from, who's the driver. So one of the mantras that I have is inspired by others, motivated by me. So I love reading about other people's stories, exposing myself to high-profile people, understanding what is it that they have done. But ultimately, motivation comes from myself. So I have to make sure on a daily basis that I show up in the best possible way, because ultimately I work with people who have not been able to achieve certain results in a certain domain, and they want me to help them get there. So that means that I need to be at a slightly higher motivational energy level than they, to really make sure that they understand it is something that is possible. The last part is that I basically check in with my clients. I mean, they are people who are in leading positions. They're getting exposed to interesting topics on a daily basis, and I just keep asking them, just tell me one thing that you've been exposed to today that you actually found fascinating, interesting to share. And that typically then results in conversations which are actually quite interesting. We typically don't have them during the workout, but we continue them after the session, which for most people is like, well, I have to rush off. I think it is an essential part to also spend a little bit of time there, because it helps both the coach and the coachee also reflect about what is going on in their life and what is there to celebrate.
It's nice and breezy here right now.
It is, yeah.
Hair's going everywhere.
Not for me.
But what I'm hearing you share here is that there is a certain amount of grounding, that you get yourself in the right headspace, that you feel centered, that you are focusing on the motivation coming from within as the main driver for you, and also making sure that you're just still connected with the people that you're working with, that you're training, right? To be able to step into their shoes, what is their world like? Because your background is not the normal kind of background for people, right? You come from professional sport, you come from that world, and it's renowned for performance, it's renowned for a particular mindset based around that, and most people don't have that training, but yet somehow you need to incorporate that into what you're doing now to people that haven't had that training. Nice.
That's a great summary, thanks for that.
I was just thinking that as you were saying it, I was like, that's pretty cool. I think we can have a cool conversation about Lewis Hamilton after this.
Oh yeah, that's the next one.
Like what he's just achieved is amazing.
You're right,
So we all have, we meet different people in life. Maybe they are fleeting moments. Maybe there are people that are around us for a long amount of time, like family or mentors or friends maybe. Who stands out for you as being, the person or the main people that have really shaped you?
I think, and that's, I think for a lot of people that, are at a certain level and would like to, progress over time, it's the people that they spend the most amount of time with. And yes, you can always talk about spend time with 5 people that inspire you, and, you'll become that person. But ultimately, it's the close circle of family members. And I think there, it's also good to have some diversity. People who have different kind of personality profiles, not only the driver, not only the analyst, not only the extrovert. And in my family, that's actually something that is there. My mom is extremely empathetic, is really the nurturing type of person, similar to my sister. My dad's very, very analytical. He's on a very different spectrum. My wife, she is a mixture of nurture, expressive, has a driver definitely in her as well. My father-in-law is a heavy driver. And then that basically you look at the different kind of profiles, and you can actually realize that the different worlds actually they help, and you can learn something from every single one of them. So yes, while I expose myself to people that are very well known, and I like to pick up ideas from them, pick their brains, it's for me at least people that I spend most of my time with.
Yes.
And that is family.
So your immediate circle.
Right?
Yeah. So what's your profile? You got drivers, you got extroverts, you got analytical people around you. What's your profile?
I actually, when I did that test a couple of years ago, it was more on the extrovert side. I was like, okay, I can stand on stage, and there's some speaking there. But over time, it actually has developed, and I think that's very typical for an entrepreneur. You have to wear different hats, and it's very important that you don't only stay in that corner. Yes, you can hire people that complement your profile, but at the same time, you should have a certain level of depth. In every single one of those quadrants. So for me, it's has somehow mellowed over time. So when I did the test a couple of months ago, it was fairly distributed. It could be because I know the test now, and I know how to game the system. But
what's the test? Just in case people are wondering what this test is.
It's the Myers-Briggs.
It's the Myers-Briggs.
MBTI, and then there's a couple of other ones, which is the color test. But it basically more or less follows the same kind of logic.
It's all personality and behavior, right?
That's true.
They're just slicing and dicing it in different ways.
And in different environments, people show up in a different way. So that's the same thing over here.
We are versatile beings, right? We are versatile. We just kind of sit in a default mode. And the more that we're in this very get up, go to work routine, we kind of stay in that default. But actually, we kind of forget that we can move around a little bit. And entrepreneurship is definitely something that really stretches that part of you.
Absolutely.
It has to, right?
Absolutely.
It's part of the success of an entrepreneur.
And I think the exercise part actually helps, because when you're in an athletic space, you know that there are certain things that you're not able to do today. There are certain things that you aspire to do tomorrow. And you have to take certain steps in order to get there. And that's actually something that happens on the entrepreneurial side as well. Sometimes you don't see the immediate success. You may, see it very, very quickly, but often it is actually quite beneficial if you don't see it right away. It takes a little bit of time, and then it shows up a little bit later. So,
So structurally, there's a lot of similarity, right? From the sports world, the performance world, and entrepreneurship.
Correct. Yeah.
Nice to make that correlation, right? Because it probably helps you.
It does. And it also tells you have to exert energy. And then afterwards there's a period of rest. If that period of rest, of detaching yourself from that topic is not there, you will more or less stay on the same level. However, over time you actually would like to bring your baseline up. From that point of view, that's also something the difference I always say between an amateur athlete and a professional athlete is the professional athlete spends more time on recovery. An amateur athlete can practice as hard, can follow the same kind of coaching routine, can hire the same person, but it's really the recovery that makes the difference, because the professional athlete can go back and then work harder on these kind of things. And I think in a world where sleep has a very, very bad reputation, and it's often very times like, actually the recovery part is not that important. For an athlete, it's key. It's one of the main differentiators. So
I think I should become a professional athlete just because I like the sound of this rest period.
That's a good one.
Is that the right reason to do it? I don't know.
I think you'll have many more people who want to be professional athletes.
The only athlete that does it for the rest period.
Exactly. Well,
I've always been a little different. So I love talking about this. I believe that we all have gifts, talents that are unique to us. And that when we align them to our work, then explosive results can happen for us, because we're doing what we are truly meant to be doing, right? Not what we're told by others that we should be doing through education. And I call that your natural genius. There's something that you are awesome at, that you're able to bring out into the world and create not only fulfillment and success for yourself, but it also creates an impact for others as well. So what's your natural genius?
It's a great question. And actually, it's something where I've had some, I've thought about it quite a number of times, and I've come up with different responses. The one that has been somewhat consistent was the one of being observant. Even though it may be something that is quite basic, but it actually helped me in various stages of my life. Take that step back and analyze, okay, what should be the right next step for me? So, I mean, you mentioned the professional football side. I joined a football club at the age of 9, which is quite late, right? So by that time, my peers had already played in the club for 4 to 5 years. So the first 2 years of my career, I actually spent either on the bench or I spent in the third team. Not in the first one, not in the second one, on the third team. And I was not considered one of the better players. You know, they would basically swap me in for the last 3 to 5 minutes when the game was decided. However, it basically taught me that I was not at that level, but I saw that there were other kids who were already at that level. So I was sitting outside, and other people, you know, were quite frustrated that they were not playing. They got pressure from their parents as well. For me, it was I was watching that game, and I was analyzing the players in my team as well as in the opposing team. And I tried to understand, you know, what is it that they do differently? I was not the fastest player. I had the ability to play with both feet, but you know, that was more or less it. So I really tried to understand the game better, and I said, okay, if I don't have this kind of a talent, I somehow need something else. So I need to be able to understand the entire you know, playing field. I need to anticipate situations earlier than other people, and I need to position myself in a better way. So, and I think that has somehow stuck. Because still to this day, I don't consider myself the most intelligent person. I don't consider myself. There's people out there that sleep less. There's people out there that may work harder. However, it's this observant side, and then taking the appropriate steps after and saying, well, if I look at all of these factors and I then consult people that I trust, who are truly a source of reference in their field. How can I position myself in a better way so that my talents actually show up in a better way, and I can help the people around me? So I would say the genius factor, as you called it, would be being observant and then process that information and see what you can do in order to position yourself better.
And often these things are simple, right? These are simple traits and abilities that we have. Because life is simple.
It is.
Right?
It is.
It's just human beings that make it complicated. And now I talk a lot about. It's interesting that you talk about observation, because I always say that observation is a very underrated ability. You look at leaders of organizations that we know of. Like the more famous leaders, if you like. Someone like a Mark Zuckerberg or Richard Branson or someone like that.
Jeff Weiner.
Exactly. They're very observant people.
Correct.
Like they're not bowling in and talking over each other and being very sort of alpha male in energy. There's a lot of observation that's going on.
True.
Right? There's a lot of taking in before you respond to something.
Correct.
And if we're talking about future leaders and people being at their best, then observation is a really core component of that, right?
And it starts for the sessions that I run. It starts always with that. So for the very first session, I come to that person's place. If they want to train outdoors, we train outdoors. If they want to train in the gym, that's okay. If they want to train in their home, we train in their home. And the first hour is for me to get a basic understanding of how their body functions. So that means several tests, because otherwise, I can give them any exercise program. There's millions of exercise programs out there, but it's really what people expect these days is a customized program, something that works for them. And in order to do that, I have to understand not only their objectives, not only their timeline, I have to understand their starting point as well. And that is only possible if you're observant. Yes, there are certain tools, etc., that help you, but it is that curiosity, this moment of being observant and time, being truly present with that person, understanding what is it that they're going through, the kind of pain points, true pain points that they often have, and then based on that, taking action.
We can't replace that part, right?
That's
the
true.
Human
That's
element.
true.
So I'm sure that people watching are very curious about, what it really took for you to step out and walk away from a successful career in a multinational environment to now doing something that clearly you love, right? There's clearly something in what you're doing that's really lighting you up right now, and that's what people want. People want to do that. I think this story is very inspiring. The fact that you are you're killing it out there, and
it's very kind of you to say that. Thank you.
And it's COVID, so we have these excuses about, oh, it's not the right time because of this and that. It's like, but here's a guy doing it, right? And he's a normal guy, right?
That's very true. Yeah, I can absolutely say that. Yeah, there's nothing special. Yeah, nothing special about
me. He's
me.
real. He's not a robot. He's real. I can see he's real. So I would love you to share with the audience watching any, I guess, words of inspiration or advice that you would give to anyone that is a little bit hesitant about stepping out, and something that's just going to help them with actually doing something that they love. What advice would you give?
If you're hesitant to step out, don't worry, you're not alone. I felt that there were many moments where I had the feeling I should be already out. Why am I holding on to this? I'm sticking to it. There were other moments where I was like, well, actually things somehow move in the right direction still. So is it not okay to enjoy that a little bit longer? So I think you go through a process there. It's not it's actually most of life is very gray. It's not black and white, and that's the same thing for taking that step. Yes, there's a lot of people that you can talk to about what is the right time. Should I do it now? Ultimately, it needs to feel right for you as well. And I say feel because yes, you can have a lot of checklists and facts, all of that written down. I'm sure. I mean, you had a corporate career, corporate job as well, and you stepped out of it as well. So yes, there is a very rational side to it, but it's actually there's an emotional side to it as well. And I think it's important to combine those. So when you want to take that step, just make sure that you have a couple of things in place, right? So for me, the thing was I would like to have certain agreements signed with future clients. So when I step out, it's not like being thrown into the deep end and I have to pedal really hard. There's a lot of stories of people out there that say, that was really what pushed me. That is typically more the alpha type that loves to be confronted with adversity and loves to move towards that. There's a lot of people that have great qualities that they can use outside the corporate world who are not alpha types, and they're often not motivated by this kind of a pressure. So one of the things that I found was good, and in hindsight it didn't work, was actually having those agreements signed. I had those agreements signed and then COVID came and I said, well, actually, can we reconsider? Can we maybe shift it? And then, the 3-month shift became a 6-month, a 9-month, and then eventually a cancellation. And you look at it from the outside and, things may go well at one point in time, but, I'm very open there. In January, my revenue was $70 Sing, 70. All right. So it's often that people say, and then, I took that step out and then, afterwards everything, went smoothly. For most people, that's not the case. So, and it is normal. It is part of it. You have to, deal with it. It's a certain level of vulnerability. Other people keep asking you, so how are things going? Is your business impacted by COVID? Of course it is. So, and that is not something that should discourage you. It's more to understand, well, that's part of every entrepreneurial journey. If you want to take that step, yes, you may encounter it either sooner or later. It's just a matter of, are you prepared to deal with that? Because even in a corporate job, there's no certainty. So for the path that I foresaw for myself in the corporate world, there would have been no certainty. Certain things I could have put in place, but even there's a lot of luck that is involved. And I think, that's part of the beauty. So,
it's very true. We often don't want to step out because we're so worried that it feels like we're going to be vulnerable and exposed. And what if things go wrong? It's like, well, if COVID's taught us anything, that even in your own company, it's not certain, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So you might as well take steps to do it.
And I'm convinced, honestly, that COVID, if you have the right ideas, if you have things that other people actually want, and often they're not very, very sophisticated, they can be very, very basic. Actually, a crisis is a great time to start a business. It's a great time to actually take that step, because in that time, in either case, nobody else, will do well. It is not that you will get a massive pay increase. It's not that you get a major jump in terms of your career promotion unless you've really lined up your ducks before. So if you have already pondered about that for a very long time, and you're saying, well, now actually would be an option, but should I take that step? You might as well do it. Put the right things in place, take that step, and then there's a lot of companies that actually hire people back, even if things should not go well. So even in the worst case, things don't work out, and you come back. At least that shows that there is an entrepreneurial spirit, and I think that's what companies these days also need. Just a person that comes into the office 9 to 5, that will not be the one that will succeed in the corporate world in the long run.
The entrepreneur, right?
Entrepreneur, as they call them. That's
great.
True.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, Bernhard. It's been
My pleasure.
great chatting to you. It's been great to be in your office.
Yes.
Thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Cheers.